Currency Index, and I'm the co-host and co-producer of this event. Our next presenter, we're going to be talking to Neil Patel. Before I introduce him, let me quickly mention that on this page, you'll see a button for the cryptocurrency training kit. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to post them below and our team will get them into our call so we can get them answered. The cryptocurrency training kit is a special offer during the summit that gets you over 40 hours of talks, 25 plus speaker bonuses, and a program called the Cryptocurrency Mastery Program. The regular price is $497, and you can secure that now for just $297. It's the most comprehensive training package in the market, so take advantage of that special offer now. So let me introduce Neil Patel. Neil is a New York Times best-selling author. The Wall Street Journal calls him a top influencer on the web. Forbes says he's one of the top 10 marketers. Entrepreneur Magazine says he created one of the 100 most brilliant companies. He was recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama and a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 35 by the United Nations. I'm going to say Neil Patel's also a badass. I love talking to him about this space. He's got such in-depth knowledge of this. Every conversation is just so much fun. And today he's going to be talking about the future of entrepreneurship. Let me give you a couple of things that we're going to cover, and then we're going to jump in. So we're going to talk about how blockchain is shaping the future of entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about how blockchain is changing the digital marketing landscape. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Silicon Valley thinks the future of money is. At the end of the talk, we'll let you know how you can access some of the important free resources from Neil. So make sure you stick around until the end of the call. So Neil, how the hell are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate you being here. And I'm going to jump right in with the first question that we're asking all of our speakers. So before we dive into your topic, Neil, we're asking everyone to share their perspective on this question. How do you think crypto will influence the future of money and the world? What's your perspective?
Well, let me give you the quick example. So I was in Vietnam a few weeks ago for a conference. And I've been working with them for many months to speak and get paid. All right. For them to transfer money to me, I kid you not, they tried to have me sign up for Payoneer. And I tried signing up for this Payoneer service. I'm based out of Vegas, and at least the corporation is, but I am as well. And it's just like, oh, we're not accepting Las Vegas residents now. And they're showing me how they have the money to pay me. And it's not a large sum. It was just 50 grand for my talk. So they're trying to give me 50 grand. That didn't work. They send me a wire transfer. They show me how they sent me the money. It gets kicked back. The money doesn't go through. They send me PayPal, but they're only able to send me $10,000 at a time, and it was taking forever to send me the money through PayPal. So I hit them up, and I'm just like, can you guys just send me cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, ETH? And they're just like, oh, that's a good idea. They're like, oh, would you be okay with that? I'm like, yeah, send it on over. And I'm not trying to do this so I can avoid taxes. I'll gladly pay the tax dollars on whatever money I'm getting paid to speak. So instead, they're just like, yeah, we can do that. The difference from them spending literally months trying to get me the money versus sending it to me in crypto was a matter of the crypto literally took a few minutes. I'm not joking. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, few minutes. Now, here's some caveats. I know people are saying like there's purposes behind these tokens and coins and Bitcoin and Ethereum. They all have the purpose. But in the most simplistic form, just think about this. I'm using it as currency. And if you look at a lot of people out there, they're also using it as currency. Not to avoid taxes, not to do shady stuff, but it's so much easier to send and receive money than it is to use going through banks, right? And it's like simplistic form. That's how I see people using it in a mainstream way.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. When we have developers that, of course, are overseas, and it makes no sense to me that how 1 week we can send the payment and like they have it in 30 minutes. And the next week we use all of the exact same information. It gets kicked back. Then we're into the following week of trying to pay them, and the previous week still hasn't cleared. Or worse, try going into a bank and trying to open up a business account these days, especially if your name says digital currency in it. You know how many banks I got kicked out of trying to open up a bank account? It's like, I just want to do business. I'm not trying to do anything shady. I just want to make money. I want to create jobs. Like, let me do it, please. blows my mind.
Because you're based in the US, if you ever have problems with any of the major banks, let me know. I can make that process much easier for you. But you're right, like it's just a pain. Like I do a lot of business overseas. We also have an ad agency in Brazil, and I send money to Brazil. They receive it. Then we have to write papers and letters explaining why we sent money for the banks to let the people in Brazil to use it and release the funds. And sometimes they hold it for 30 days. We're not doing anything shady. It's just like straight up, they're just holding it for 30 plus days just because they're like, oh, why'd you get this large sum of money? So we can expense some stuff in business, right? And they're just like, oh, I need to see documentation and proof. You provide it all. They're like, okay, we need more time. And then the next week they ask for the same dumb documents all over again.
It's my money. Let me spend it. That's just what I like. I want to like scream at all of the bankers. Like, I'm just trying to spend some money. I'm trying to make some money.
Yep.
You know, and that leads into this. How do you believe that blockchain will shape the future of entrepreneurship? If it makes it that much easier to send payments, what can it do to make the life of an entrepreneur easier?
Yeah. So one thing that most people don't know, let's say the US has 300 and something million people. There's 6-7 billion total globally. Majority of the money is outside of the US if you look in total, right? Most people don't speak English. Most people don't have USD as a currency. When you want to end up doing business as an entrepreneur, if you really want to grow, you have to be global. And to be global, you have to accept payments from Europe and different regions. And Europe's not that bad because they take euros, UK is in pounds. And then you start going to different regions like Asia and Latin America. It gets really messy because they all have their own different currencies. But here's what most people don't tell you is as an entrepreneur, if I had the same exact product as you and we had the same exact checkout flows and same everything, but my landing page, let's say someone was in Germany and I accepted euros and you accepted USD only because you're based in the US. If I accept euros and let's say you're charging $99 a month for your product or service and I charge 99 euros. So a euro is worth more than a US dollar, right? And I'm giving them the option to pay you in euros. I would generate around 10% more sales than you from everything we've tested. We've tested this so many times. It makes it more lucrative for the entrepreneur. Now, on the flip side, yes, you can get approval through payment processors to get currency, accept different currencies. But if crypto really becomes mainstream, and it's nowhere near mainstream, everyone's just like, it's taking over the world. It's on cloud nine. It's like, yes, crypto is growing. And I don't know what the percentage is, but it can't even be 1% of the population is using crypto. Has to be a really tiny number. I don't know what it is, but it's really tiny like that. Once it becomes more mainstream and people are all using, Bitcoin or ETH and websites start taking these universal currencies, it makes it much easier as an entrepreneur and as a customer because then everyone can start operating with one single type of currency. And best of all, it'll end up becoming much more stable. So if you look at the crypto prices right now, they go up and down drastically. It's because it's the same with the stock market. If you go back 40, 50 years ago, there was huge swings. But as it builds momentum, as it starts getting more usage, as you start seeing the big institutions come in, it starts providing more stability, which then makes it more lucrative for entrepreneurs to use it. And you'll notice that your conversion rates will start going up, assuming everyone starts using it as currencies. But that's the big thing that I believe that's going to end up happening in the next few years.
What do you think it's going to take to reach that mainstream potential or like that main street potential? We're working with a lot of multi-billion-dollar financial institutions, training them on how to sell cryptocurrency. But what needs to happen in the industry in order to bring Main Street investors in that right now might not even be considering cryptocurrency for part of their portfolio?
Yeah, so it needs to get modernized, kind of like banking. And I know that may sound backwards because everyone's like, wait, cryptocurrencies and exchanging, money through crypto is much more modern than the traditional banking system. But what I mean is modernize as in it's much easier to get access to go to a local bank and get money out or put money in than it is for people in certain parts of the world to get access to cryptocurrencies, right? For example, I was talking with 55, 60-year-old women when I was in Vietnam. And she was talking to me on how she wants to get involved into cryptocurrency. My speech was about entrepreneurship and marketing. And she was telling me how, like, a lot of marketing stuff is getting intertwined with cryptocurrencies. And she's like, how can I go buy some Bitcoin? And how can I go buy some Ethereum or Ether? And I was just like, I don't know. You're in Vietnam, right? Like, what websites can you use? And she's like, oh, no, it's not as easy as just swiping a credit card here. And I don't know if what she's saying is true or not, right? I don't live in Vietnam. But getting access to dollars is really simple. I can go up, sign up for a credit card, and boom, instantly I have access to money and I can spend it wherever. And that's how it works in the US. But every country isn't as simple to get access to cryptocurrencies. Like, I have a lot of friends in Brazil who are like, hey, Neil, can you help us buy some Bitcoin? And I'm like, can't you just buy it yourself? They're like, no, it's really hard for us.
Interesting. And that makes me think of one thing that we've talked about before too, is the perception of the industry, say, both from an investment perspective, like with ICOs and different types of projects in the US versus, like, we think that the market's kind of having a problem here, but then you go over to Asia and it's growing at leaps and bounds because they don't see the same hurdles that we might see here today. What are you seeing when you look at that worldwide global market for projects that differentiate certain parts of the world as a good place to be looking for opportunity versus what's going on in the US?
Yeah, there's definitely more opportunities in Asia right now than there are in the US when it comes to crypto. We're seeing a lot of talented people from the US move into parts of Asia or travel there to get more involved in projects. You're seeing a ton of money from Silicon Valley pour into blockchain. And the reason being is they see here to stay. The big problem that you're running into with the whole market, whether it's Asia or the US, we're seeing different viewpoints. So, for example, if you were to start a company here in the US, a traditional company, and raise $5-10 million, people would get equity in your business, right? In Asia, when you're looking at all these ICOs, they're just like, yeah, you just get tokens and you can use the tokens. But how many people are really using the tokens? It's very slim to none. They're more so trading it as currency or using it for speculative bets, right? Kind of like a stock market. Oh, is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Should I buy more? Should I sell it? Now, I think the future, at least in the US, this is what they perceive. A lot of people here look at the whole crypto world and be like, hey, it needs to move into a security token, right? In which you're starting to fund a lot of these projects. Now you're getting tokens, but you're also getting equity within these companies. And a lot of people in Asia don't have that belief. They feel like, oh, why can't I just put in money, get some tokens, and call it a day? It doesn't logically make sense, and I don't see it continually growing at this pace to put money into something for some tokens that you'll never use. That, yes, may have some quote unquote, real use cases, but no one's really using it for what it's really meant for. So it's like there's a divide in what we're seeing right now.
Well, specifically you, when you're looking, and I know you've invested in a lot of different projects, both in and out of the software and cryptocurrency space, like, what are you looking for, either from an equity token or from an overall project, when you're looking to invest in companies?
Yeah, I'm looking for good team and I'm looking for real traction and product. See, I don't understand why people need to raise 50, 30 million, 20 million for these projects when they're not going to really do anything with the money. I call bullshit. It's too much capital. They're not using it in sophisticated ways. They're burning it. They're doing stupid shit. People are stealing money. Like, there's just so many problems. I'm looking for real products, real team, longevity. The way the market's moving is a lot of people think there's crypto and then there's traditional businesses. The way the market's moving is, and I predict this is going to be the future, you're going to start seeing the Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world, real legitimate companies start getting more into blockchain, and they're going to start taking it over.
I like that because we've seen some of our holdings, and without talking about specific companies, even in those major public companies, those that are starting to drive more investment in blockchain and in the research to develop blockchain-based products, the longevity that gives them over the companies that aren't, really makes us excited about those investments. Do you see do you see a shift in the type of projects entrepreneurs are starting because of blockchain and crypto? And I know we're going to touch on this. We both come from a marketing background, and there's
Yeah.
talk in the industry that a lot of guys and gals are shifting from the marketing space into the cryptocurrency space and from the biz ops space. Why do you think that is?
Well, the reason they're shifting, to be honest, is they're just looking for quick money. And it's mainly affiliates. Like, it's all these people who used to run shady offers, they still do, in which you would see their ads all over Facebook for saying, like, lose 10 pounds. And they'll send you to this landing page that looks like you're on CNN or New York Times, but you're really not. And it talks about this story on how someone lost weight or remove their wrinkles by using some product. And then they, from there, to drive you to a page where it says, get this product for free, just pay for shipping. And then every month they keep sending you the product and charging you without your permission. And that's how these affiliates made money. And they're just like, oh shit, Bitcoin went up like crazy. Ethereum's up like crazy too. Like, screw sending physical products. We can just get rich doing all this crypto stuff and call it a day. Like, they're really just looking for a quick payday. And if you look at 2017 versus 2018, 2017 was a huge bull run. 2017 was a huge bull run. 2018 by no means has been a bull run. But in reality, right, like, good things don't last forever. And these marketers are just coming in because they're looking to make a quick buck. Then a lot of them started getting in towards the end of 2017. They're like, I quit everything. I'm just going to get into crypto. This is the future. And I do believe crypto has there's so much of a future in blockchain, but there is no guarantee that one, token or one currency is going to do better than the other. It's still very early on. And these guys are just looking for quick money. They're not really in it for the long haul. They don't care about technology. They don't care about real usage. All they care about is, like, how can I make a quick buck? And as you can see, things haven't kept climbing in the, crypto world, in which Bitcoin didn't just go up to 100,000, right, dollars instantly. And everyone's like, oh, it's at 17, 18,000. It's going to go to 100,000. Now I'm like, dude, you guys all need to get back into reality. It's just like, what goes up comes down. I'm not saying a Bitcoin isn't worth more than what it's worth right now. I'm just saying, if you're going to be in these kind of things for speculative reasons to try to make a quick buck, you're wasting your time, because as quickly as you can make it is how quickly as you can lose it. When something can go up 10, 20% in a day, it can easily go down 10, 20% in a day as well.
I'm glad you have no opinion on that topic of conversation at all. So now, and one of the things, I think this is an excellent time, I want to kind of give props to my partner, John Tarr, because the reason that he created Totally Crypto, built the audience, and the reason that we partnered together with our technology and some of the publishing stuff that we've done is precisely what you were saying, is everybody started jumping into this space and everybody's putting out crap content. And we spent 4 months before we published our first newsletter in the space trying to figure out what is it that we can do to provide real value. And I always like to give John props for having the vision to see that was needed in the space when every other marketer was putting complete shit out there. So I appreciate that from you.
Do you remember when we first got connected? So when we first got connected, I learned about your community, and you were telling me a story. You're just like, yeah, there was this company incubated from Disney. It's real legit. They didn't get a ton of press, but look at it. It's done really well. They have some traction. They didn't spend a ton of money just doing fake ads on, all these popular crypto sites to create this fake buzz and have no product. But, you and I have always been on the same wavelength when it came to the space, which is like, how do you find, the diamonds in the rough? How do you weed out all the crap? Because there's so much crap. And I think it's getting harder over time. Like, if you look at each quarter, there's way less crap. And I'm happy because of it. But it's just so funny. It's because, like, most people want to build a community to just get rich quick. And you're like, screw the money. How can we build a community that just brings like-minded people together and just help each other grow?
Yeah, and that's awesome, because every day you get a chance to wake up and engage with them, and you get conversations going that actually make you excited about stuff. You don't feel like you're bombarded by that crap that is continuously being put out every place else.
Exactly.
When you talk about some of these different investment strategies, are there any specific investments that you're in today that you're excited about, that you want to talk about right now?
I don't talk too much about my investments, but I have one simple thesis. If you don't understand what you're investing in, don't invest in it. And number two, if you're not willing to lose money, don't invest. And number three, if you're not in it for the long haul, don't invest, right? So it's like that'll help reduce losses. It's funny, a lot of people used to ask Warren Buffett, hey, you're great friends with Bill Gates. Why don't you ever invest in Microsoft? And nowadays, Buffett has been investing more in technology. So he's a big shareholder in Apple, and he's been investing in a few other companies. And I remember at the last annual meeting, they're asking him like, hey, are you going to get into Amazon now, right? Like, look at Amazon. It's on a roll and it's just growing so fast. If you're not into things for the long haul and you don't believe in it, you don't understand what you're doing, just don't get into it. It's like, that's where you lose everything that you have.
Absolutely. I think those are the most common sense pieces of advice for anyone investing in anything. I often think that there is, and I think you mentioned this before too, there's this odd dynamic where people think that crypto is different and they think that blockchain is different and that the normal rules of investing don't apply for some reason, that everything's just going to continually go up and they don't have to think about it strategically. So I appreciate you mentioning that. You mentioned Silicon Valley. What are they doing there? I know you spent a lot of time there. You've done a lot of investing, a lot of advising on projects. Like, what do you see coming out of Silicon Valley that's getting funding? And what do you see the future of those types of projects looking like?
Sure. So because blockchain technology is so new, what Silicon Valley is pushing for, and I think it's the right approach, they're looking for more infrastructure plays. So if you can have the infrastructure there, you're going to see cryptocurrencies being adopted in mass scale. But without the infrastructure, it's going to become harder and harder for cryptocurrencies to be adopted in mass scale. And that's what Silicon Valley has been investing in heavily. They also believe if there's no product, there's no team, people aren't focusing on it, they're not going to touch it with the 10-foot pole. So they're being really picky. If you look at more projects coming out of Asia, we're seeing, like, I was talking to someone the other day, he's just like, if you get Box Mining to talk about you on YouTube or any company, that's when you should invest, because whatever he talks about, it'll go up. And I'm like, that's such a flawed viewpoint when it comes to investing. Like, that'll only last so long. Yes, that may work today, but in the long run, that's not going to last. People are going to see through it. It's just like people used to tell me, hey, if there's a cryptocurrency out there with 20, 30, 50,000 Telegram members, it's going to go up. That's what means it's going to be successful. Or if you see ads on all these popular sites, it means it's going to do well, that they're creating a lot of hype. And I'm like, this is all bullshit. Yes, you can create hype in short-term, manipulations of pricing and stuff like that. If you, let's say, get people to talk about you, or you have your ads in the right places, or you may have influencers discussing you, but there's no longevity there. You got to build a real business. Like, you see all these companies in the crypto space with multi-billion-dollar market caps, yet they don't have product, they have nothing. And I'm just like, cool, you're really worth $10 billion. You know what I mean? When someone can copy you the next day, there's really nothing that's defensive. And I'm like, good for you, but I'm like, this isn't going to last forever.
No, and a lot of projects pop into my head when you talk about that, both good and bad. And I think I want to mention, one of our sponsors for this event is Equity Trust, and they're $27 billion wealth. I don't want to call them wealth management. They're in the self-directed IRA space. And they saw crypto as an opportunity to deploy technology through strategic partnerships. And what we really liked about working with them and training their teams on this was that they got it. They understood that building the infrastructure out comes before everything else. If you build the infrastructure and you have the audience and you bring them together, you've got a great likelihood of succeeding. But if you introduce shitty products to a large amount of people, you get shitty results. And they've spent a lot of time and money building their platform. And I'll be interviewing two of their team members tonight, including their COO. And the stuff that they're getting ready to introduce in the self-directed IRA space for cryptocurrencies is freaking awesome. They solve a lot of the biggest problems in the industry. So if you're watching this video, check us out tonight too. You can check the schedule site to see a little bit more about that.
And that's why I mentioned banking earlier, right? It's just like, yes, I understand technology in the blockchain space is, far more superior than the traditional banking space, but everyone has, ease of access when it comes to banks. And that's why crypto won't be as popular until you start seeing a lot of infrastructure pop up.
No, absolutely. I will spend any amount of time that I can working with the financial institutions that understand that. Unfortunately, not all of them do, but you get into conversations with them, you can tell who's out there like, hey, I'm going to build infrastructure, or hey, I want to make money on trades. Like, if you're going to build the infrastructure and you're going to make it better than what's available out there today, I'll invest in you now. If you're going to transform the industry and help it meet regulatory hurdles and give it easier access to Main Street investors, fuck, I want a piece of that. I don't know if I'm supposed to swear. Sorry. I always fight against that. I was doing good until right there, I think. On this topic of like infrastructure, what do you think the future is for crypto and blockchain? Like, if you could give me one or two storylines of what the future is going to look like because of this revolution, what would it be?
The future is going to be making I see it as making existing businesses and life more efficient in simplistic terms. And I know it's not the best description, but let me give you an example of this. One of my friends has this site called BizX, okay, where corporations can end up trading BizX dollars. And here's what I mean by this. Let's say you're a plumber and I'm a roofer and someone else sells cars. We all have extra inventory. So I can be like, hey, I have all this plumbing material that I don't need. Can I trade it with you for roofing material? Right? Or there's a lot of stadiums on BizX who have, let's say, box seats that are never used. And it's like, oh, sure, I'll take some ad placements over here in exchange for you having some of our box seats or whatever it may be. And it's just this community where everyone's just trading. And the reason they're trading is because it's like there's so many inefficiencies in businesses where everyone has leftover, right? Like, you look at clothing manufacturers, they're not producing the exact number of clothes they need to sell. They usually produce excess or shortage. The same in the car manufacturing space. They're producing excess or shortage of cars. It's very rarely the exact amount. So you look at this network, everyone, once they put in, start trading, they have to change everything into BizX dollars, but you can't ever pull out. And that's a prime example of something that should have been created on the blockchain, because then it would have been easier for people to not only just get in and start bartering services, but it could have also made it easier for people to get out too if they didn't want to use this system as well.
That makes sense. Are you working with them to bring them onto the blockchain?
I'm not, but I met up with them a few times and I gave them some recommendations. I'm like, you guys should do this.
No, I can appreciate that. And for those of you that are watching the video, if you have any questions for Neil or for me, feel free to post them in any of the places you see this video streaming. I know we've got a great admin team that's managing both the Facebook streams, the YouTube streams, the website stream, and they're happy to move those questions over to us here on the live conference so we can try to answer a couple of those as we get towards the end of this awesome interview. One point of disclosure before I ask you about your project, Kind Ads, is that my fund was an investor in Kind Ads. I have to say that. Can you tell our audience a little bit about this project?
Yeah, sure. So I'm an advisor to the project. But Kind Ads is, there's Google and then there's Facebook ads. If you look at Google and Facebook ads, they make up a large portion of they make up a large portion of digital advertising dollars. So if you think about television ads, Google is bigger than any television advertising company. There's more dollars right now spent on digital ads than offline. And Google and Facebook have the lion's share. Google being worth, I think 700 plus billion. Facebook's around 500 billion in market cap. I think Google makes roughly around 80 billion a year just from ads. So you as a publisher create majority of your content and you monetize because you have no choice. Eventually your costs go up. You got to monetize or figure out a way to make money. You start throwing up ads. The easiest way to throw up ads is you go through networks. Problem with the networks is they keep majority of the money and they pay you out later. And if you're an advertiser, you continually see your costs rising when the middleman is making all the money, right? Like if you look at Google and Facebook, they're bigger than any publishing company out there. They're bigger than any other advertiser out there. And they're making all the money as a middleman. And it's just like Kind of model is like, hey, how can we start slowly cutting the middleman out, connect the publishers and advertisers directly? So then that way, it's publishers make more money and advertisers keep majority of the money. And then you as a user, if you share your data and you're getting targeted with ads, at least you're getting compensated for it.
Paint me a picture of what you see kind ads being 5 years from now. Like, how do you see those types of projects transforming the marketing world?
Yeah, so I was talking with the team the other day, and they were talking about like, hey, how do we compete with Google head on directly with banners and stuff? They're getting some strategy advice from me. And I was like, you're not going to take over a Google overnight. You're not going to take over a Facebook overnight. It's really rare. And I was like, you should focus on the markets that they're not focusing on first, which is what Kind is doing. I'm like, look at push notifications and email marketing. The conversion rates are so high, it's ridiculous. I was talking to I think it was the president of Overstock, and he was talking about how 30% of their revenue comes from email marketing. And I was like, it's so hard to go by email blast that I have a team in San Diego that'll just reach out to a shitload of people, ask them for like blasts and promos and all this kind of stuff. And when they do that, what ends up happening is it's just such a manual grind because you're doing one-off deals. It's really ineffective to get a ton of sponsorships or blasts or promotions. But what if there was a centralized place where you can start buying them? Kind of like what you do with Google AdWords or what you're doing with Facebook ads. If they did that, there's a unique segment that Google and Facebook and Taboola and all these other people aren't going after, where they can go in there, gobble up the market share, and then slowly expand into other regions. Plus, those ads aren't as obtrusive.
Oh, I love it. And not only as an investor, but as a marketer, I see the place for it. And as a publisher, I love the idea of being able to keep more of the ability to generate revenue from our own efforts, because it's not easy. It's possible if you put the effort out there, but keeping more of that money definitely makes it a more viable operation for more people, including entrepreneurs, which was like a focal point of this conversation about how do we give power back to the entrepreneurs? How can entrepreneurs take power back through the use of blockchain and cryptocurrency? So I really love that play. Do you have time for a couple questions that are coming in from the audience?
Yeah, fire away.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to kind of reword this one because I think this one might have came in the middle of a different while we were talking about something, and it has to do with atomic swaps and platforms. And I think that it had to do with when you're talking about that company that was a BizX, where the money's kind of stuck inside of it. Like, do you look at any of the atomic swap platforms or any of the cross-chain coins and look at them as an investment opportunity? Or let me simplify that a little bit. Do you see an opportunity in a tokenized economy where it's very easy to exchange one token for another instantaneously instead of having to take it, say, back into Bitcoin or Ethereum and then back out to another type?
Yes, I do see a huge future there. I think there's a lot of potential. The question is, in the long run, will there be as many tokens as there are right now? Right? And yeah. I don't think so. So yes, in the short run, I think there's a lot of potential there. But the part that I don't know is, you go fast forward 5-10 years from now, how many tokens are there that are going to exist? And if there's not as many, do people really need that? But right now, people would need that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've instilled in our fund and our analysts is like, if you're looking at a project, give me equity or give me debt, but you can keep your fucking utility. Because it just, when it comes to new projects right now, dependent upon its deployment, it's not as viable as, okay, I like utility, but I also want equity. Or I like utility, but I also want some type of dividend. Like, there's got to be something to me as an investor that shows this as a substantiated investment. So I like that. Now, for those questions that are coming in where you're asking about a specific project or a specific coin, we're really not going to touch on those types of things. In fact, some of these I've never even heard of. So that might be the answer that you're looking for, considering that we have analysts that are scouring every project that's out there. There is a question on which blockchain companies do you see making the most strides in infrastructure and being mass market accepted? I might field that one from a public company perspective. We see the things that IBM is doing with Stellar as really thought leadership in the macro space right now. Their deployment of the blockchain, build your own blockchain platform, I think is really genius, we've spent a lot of money taking some of our developers and getting them trained on ERC20 tokens and blockchain. And it's not all for naught. I mean, it's still something that's an important part of our business. But making it more scalable and easier to use, the way that IBM is doing, I think, again, adds to that ability to build out larger, more scalable infrastructure. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, I don't know that stuff as well as probably you do.
Then let me ask you another question. The person's name is Polite. What will be the worst part about cryptocurrencies?
The worst part about cryptocurrencies is easier to steal. If someone steals it, harder to track them, harder to get your money back. That's probably one of the worst things. The second worst thing that I would say is there's a ton of scams going on where people are just releasing shit and trying to make a quick buck. And I hope these people get caught.
No, I don't argue with that. In fact, one of the things that we saw was that maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, the U.S. put together a task force with law enforcement from 40 different states, and they said they're going to investigate every single ICO that did public advertising to make sure that they're completely registered. And then all of a sudden, I saw some of the names of projects that we've looked at the past start getting put on that list. And we're like, yep, we could have called that. So it is important that we first self-regulate ourselves in this industry before forcing regulators to jump in and create the chaos that they can create. But in the end, it'll create a greater industry and greater sustainability. Do you have any last thoughts? This has been an awesome interview. I super appreciate it. I know the audience has gotten a lot out of this. Do you have any last thoughts before I drop a little bit more in here?
No, it's like, if you're going to get into this space, which I hope many of you guys do, think long run. Don't be short-sighted. There's a lot of things up in the air. No one is God. They can't predict if Bitcoin or one of these coins is going to be at 100,000, a million, go to zero. Yes, I do believe a lot is here to stay and a lot of it's long run. I'm just saying, don't get in for the financial purpose. Get in because you believe in the longevity of blockchain. Like I myself, hold certain cryptocurrencies, but I hold them not because I believe, it can go to 100,000 or a million and I'm going to 10x or 100x my money. I look at it as like, I believe this is the future and that's why I'm in it.
I love that. I want to remind everyone that you can own the entire training summit through our cryptocurrency training kit. This gets you downloadable access to the videos, audios, transcripts, and bonus gifts from over 35 speakers, all for only $297. You'll also get a special bonus training called the Crypto Mastery Program we are producing now. After the summit, the price of this training will go to $497. So if you'd like to own the materials and refer back to them at your convenience, now is the time, and you can get a link on the page. Neil, I super appreciate you joining us for this summit. I love all the knowledge. I love the conversations that we have sometimes about what's going on in the space. Super excited about what you guys are doing with Kind Ads. And I just super appreciate you being a thought leader in this space. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Perfect. All right, audience. We will see you again at our next session, which is going to be, my interview with Equity Trust tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific or 7 p.m. Eastern. You're going to learn about a $27 billion company that is revolutionizing the way that people invest in cryptocurrency using self-directed IRAs. And you're going to start to learn about the amazing platform that they've put together. Here's a kicker. No more wallets, no more security issues. We'll see you, everybody, at the next event. Peace.